All right, welcome to another edition of Goalie Resiliency. I'm Chris Dawson. This is the one and only Dr. Rob Graham. We're, of course, producer Mike Brown behind the camera. An interesting, we get these different goalies from different, sort of directions they go with their careers. And obviously, our main person of action today, Justin Robinson, has lived on the border town in Quebec, but he played here in North Bay and with the Trappers, and now he's in the Quebec Hockey League.
Well, and I think, Chris, if we look at what our next three podcasts are, I think we're going to have to entitle this we're in our Young Guns. This is kind of like our Young Guns feature. So we've got Justin playing in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, and when we throw to your interview with him
Quebec
shortly...
Maritime Junior Hockey
correct.
League.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, correct. And again, goaltender resiliency. I mean, it just seems like, Chris, every time we have one of these young goalies coming in, the story of resiliency and overcoming some of the challenges. And I just really enjoyed watching that interview that you did with him and talking about that. But, the other connection we have with Justin is Justin was in the ice box. He holds the record for most consecutive pucks caught in here. And you introduced me years ago to Danny Spence from 360 Goaltending when I worked with Danny, and that's how I got to spend some time with Justin on the ice at that point. So again, our connections that we have with our athletes, it's just been really intriguing and really interesting.
We're going to check out that interview right now with Justin Robinson, talking about his history of goaltending, starting from a little guy, even a little interview of Justin when he was a little guy, but certainly growing into a special goaltender. So we'll take a look at that now. All right, we're here with Justin Robinson. Justin, former Trapper, now made it to the Q. It's been a long journey. Borders, grew up on a border town. The first glimpse that I saw you was, I think it would have been Adam AA. So tell me a little bit about how Dad Scotty got you coaxed to be the one to play between the pipes.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Chris. It's a great honor to be here. So in Temiskaming, there's not much hockey there. You play in minor hockey and you're on the team. So just playing over there, like my dad figured out I might be good enough to try a different level. So came out to North Bay a bit, just tried out for the team, made the team, and from there just kept coming out here and just traveling every day. So
tell me some of the highlights for you with the group that you grew up with up until Bantam. Tell me some of your favorite memories playing AA and AAA Trappers hockey in North Bay.
There are numerous memories. Like, I think for me, the one that I remember the most is going to Lake Placid. The tournament in New York, was it Major Adam? We ended up winning the tournament over there, obviously, in the Olympic Village. We just got to do a bunch of stuff in the Olympic Village, got to go bobsledding, got to go up the gondola, watch or see the ski hill or the ski jump. So that was pretty fun.
So moving on to Pee Wee, talk about actually would have been Major Pee Wee and Minor Bantam. Talk about those 2 years. Your last, I guess, Major Pee Wee, Minor Bantam. Your last 2 years. Talk about those 2 years. We talk on Goalie Resiliency about having to overcome things, and those were 2 seasons for you where you had a really solid start, but a weird injury, not on the ice, and then you ended up getting pneumonia right before COVID. So tell me, I guess, about those two seasons and kind of the challenges of trying to fight through injuries or setbacks at bad times of year.
Yep. So obviously, we had a pretty good team both those years. All year long, thought I had good performances. And leading up to playoffs at school, both years ended up getting hurt. We're both in gym class. I ended up breaking my wrist and breaking my foot. So obviously at a crucial part of the year. So possibly hurt the team. I mean, in the playoffs, you need your entire roster there. So I was just trying to be there, support the team like as much as I could. So it was tough not being able to help them on the ice, but just being there and helping them mentally, I guess, off the ice was just kind of the role I had.
Now, truth be told, we didn't mention it. I've known Justin since he was an Adam. My son Caleb has played with him those years. Tell me about that last year before you ended up moving. A really bizarre year again. I think you had pneumonia and you missed part of the playoffs, and then the team goes all the way to the championship, one win away from the championship, and then literally the world shuts down. What was that like for you? Probably looking and thinking, hey, you know what? I can maybe be on the championship team if we move on, and all of a sudden it all just came crashing down, didn't it?
Yeah, so like originally when we heard that schools were shut down for 2 weeks, I mean, we just thought we were going to go back after just a small break and be able to finish off our playoffs and stuff. So I was hopeful then, having pneumonia, that I would be able to be back in time for those games. Obviously with COVID lasted 3 years, we weren't able to. But yeah, it was tough mentally, just not being able to finish the year there in North Bay, and obviously that being the end of my career in North Bay. But just looking back at it, I had so many great memories here, and I'm just very thankful for everything that I did here in North Bay.
And maybe talk a little bit about that, the weird year, and God bless Scott Ray. And with COVID restrictions, me or your dad, we couldn't even come in the building and watch. North Bay kids would come visit you. Temiskaming's rink was open, but you were allowed, 7-8 guys on the ice, 7-8 people in the building.
Yeah.
So we would have to hang out in the parking lot or go have dinner. And you guys played your hockey. What was that like? And obviously Scott Ray was a great resource even for us with the Voodoos, and was very good with that age group, and Mason being his son on that with our age group too. But tell me what that was like, that training that you were doing for a whole year that never ended up amounting to anything, right?
Yeah, I mean, you can never go wrong with training all the time. I mean, it was just great being able to see my friends and teammates just in the rink again. And just being able to skate with them, getting on the ice and not having to take such of a long break was great. So just seeing them and being with the teammates and stuff was just phenomenal.
So we get out of COVID, and you're in kind of a situation. We've had funny situations before with Nate McDonald being a trapper goalie for a long time and having to make a choice to go down south. You had to make that choice, and you ended up going down to play for the Brantford Oilers. Tell me a little bit about what went into that thought process. And what your thoughts, because I know there was some talk that you were very much like Nate McDonald, I think. Nate, there was only a U18 team, and he had to beat out 2 goalies as a U16. You weren't sure if there was going to be a U16 team that year, and then you would have been in the same boat having to beat out a couple older goalies. So tell me about that process and what that was like for you, and maybe a little bit about that memorable year. Didn't see you all year until the OHL Cup, which was pretty cool seeing you in that Oilers jersey.
Yep. So, I mean, that year, just coming back from COVID, had to make that big decision. So maybe the possibility of only having the one U18 team be competing against maybe 6-7 goalies for that spot. I just thought that going down south, one would be more exposed to scouts. So just being more exposed, first of all, would just increase my chance of being drafted. And then just trying something different, I've always wanted to play at the next level. So moving away from home at that age is kind of something different as well. So just having a different challenge was something again. So just going out to Brantford was originally wasn't my plan. I was supposed to play for a different team. Some things happened. But when everything was done, I mean, I ended up with Brantford. We had a great year. I ended up in the OHL Cup. I thought, a great performance there, which ultimately made me where I am right now. So.
And there's another twist too, right?
Yeah.
You went down there thinking that if you played down in the GTHL, that you would be able to be drafted in the OHL.
Yeah.
Well, you ended up finding out that wasn't the case, and as you know, growing up, Quebec is very protective of its players, and you end up finding out that you weren't eligible for the OHL draft. You were eligible for the Q draft. So tell me a little bit about. You end up getting drafted by St. John, but tell me about that window of time, and I guess the anxiety of, not knowing, did they see me enough? Because, and what was that like for you mentally to kind of, deal with? Because there's a big gap between the Q draft and the OHL draft, which is much earlier.
Yeah, so at that time, I was just prepared for the OHL draft and just playing in Ontario basically my whole life. I just thought that I was going to be available for that draft, and I was exposed to those scouts my entire life. So yeah, that year just focused on the OHL side of things. And then after the OHL Cup, like especially after my performance then, I had quite a few interviews with some of the teams. So that kind of got my hopes up for that league. And then I think it was a week before the draft, I was supposed to have an interview with a certain team, and just some things happened and I found out that I wasn't eligible anymore. So one thing led to the other, and then I found out that I was being put into the Q draft because whatever, I was part of the Quebec loop. So went from there. All my hard work in Ontario was transferred into Quebec. So that summer I had to go play in Montreal at a few tournaments, be exposed over there because no team had really seen me play. So I was just put into a completely different just pool of goalies there. And ultimately being now in St. John is a great place for me. So, I mean, things happen for a reason, and I'm super grateful that I'm there now.
Tell me a little bit about your time. You ended up going to that year after you played you played midget, and then you ended up signing with St. John, and then last year was your first full year. Tell me a little bit about what the experience has been like going to the Maritimes, and now the league has actually changed its name to the Quebec Maritime Major Junior Hockey League as opposed to the QMJHL. And obviously, as you know, there's a lot of maritime teams. I'm sure there's a lot of executives in the Q from the Maritimes happy to see that name change. But tell me a little bit about what life's been like in the Q.
It's been great, honestly, since I've gotten there. Just the fans, the atmosphere, everything's been great. It's a great place to be down on the East Coast. I mean, I've never been there to visit before, and just getting down there, I mean, just the people down there are great. Everybody's super nice, and just being able to, on road trips, just go see the ocean, see all different cities down the East Coast, places I've never been before, is just been great, and it's been just amazing down there. So
we're going to go back in time a little bit.
And
you're like you said, I think you know where we're going with this. So
I have a feeling
we have, as we always do in the Goalie Resiliency podcast, we always go back, if we can, into the archives, and we've got the first ever interview that Justin did with Jamie Young in a broadcast. I think it was the Major Adam Trappers versus the Minor Adam Trappers, and young Justin with the victory. We're going to play this video for you right now.
Okay, our player of the game for the Adams, Justin Robinson. Justin, that close to a shutout. What do you think of the game today?
I thought it was a good game. The players played great. Then the shutout, I almost got it, but the last goal, it just squeaked out from me. And yeah.
Well, you did a very good job. Now, playing on the big ice, is it different? I know the net's the same size as on any other rink, but does playing on the big ice surface at the Gardens make a difference to you?
No, not really, because I used to play with my other team. It was a big ice too, so I'm pretty used to playing on a big ice.
Great. Well, fantastic job. All your teammates out here watching you do the interview. What do you say, guys? What do you say to your goalie today?
Great job. Great. You're awesome.
Great. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations on your game.
Thank you.
That's great.
There you go. Very insightful first interview. How has the media exposure been like going from the GTHL to the Quebec League? Well, GTHL to Amos and then to the Quebec League. Are you guys really the big story in town?
In the city we are. I mean, it's a very blue collar city, so especially for younger kids, as is all junior hockey. I remember growing up, just kids will always be looking up to you. So we'll have just some days where kids can come skate with us on the ice. I mean, just give our autographs out. So it's just great giving back to the community and seeing kids be so happy that we're there and giving our time to them. So.
Last one I'm going to bring up, and Rob might even talk about him a little bit, but talk about your dad, Scotty Robinson, and kind of your family in general, the commitment that they've made for you to make those trips 60 kilometers for people that don't know, 65 kilometers North Bay to Miskaming, but then sometimes you'd have to go to Powassan.
Yeah.
Sometimes you'd have to go to Sturgeon, so that would make the trip longer. But tell me a little bit about your family support and the guy we call Scotty. How much has your family and Scotty meant to you in terms of your journey as a goaltender?
They've been unreal. I mean, I could never be more grateful enough for them. I mean, they've done everything for me. Just from after school traveling to North Bay, even to Sunridge on some nights. Just after school leaving, I mean, travel 60 to like 90 kilometers away. Weekends, give up their time just for me on weekends, and not even to mention just the money they spend. So I'll be forever grateful for them, and just, yeah. It's
your number one, to put you on the spot, what's one family moment or moment as a part of your family in your journey that really stands out that you might want to share?
just going back, I think, to Lake Placid, going out there traveling with my dad, and then all of a sudden I was surprised. My grandparents made the trip out. We were surprised that they drove, was it the 13 hours just to come see me play in a tournament. It was just unreal, just having them there with me and just seeing all the sacrifice that they'll do for me as well. So
awesome. Well, thank you very much, my friend. It's been a
Thank you,
pleasure.
Chris.
Good luck. And the tough questions are coming, as Rob Graham's going to ask you some more technical goalie stuff, and we'll look forward to that after the break.
Well, you know, Chris, every week you just seem to impress. I was at the rink today talking with Nate McDonald, and he says, where does Chris come up with some of that stuff? And even today, really, really interesting to watch Justin's response to that video that you somehow were able to locate back when he was so young. And one of the things that we were talking about off camera is just how articulate he was way back at that age and stage of his development.
I'm looking over your shoulder. You can't see it, but there's an Alex Auld jersey, and I was just joking with him after the interview. Alex Auld was a goalie that I met. Tom Hedican, guy who you know very well, a well-established, historically fantastic goaltending coach from the North Bay area. He had Alex Auld, then he had Nate McDonald, and he compared the two. And when I know Nate McDonald being with the Voodoos and know Alex and hearing the stories and knowing Alex when he played for the Centennials, this Justin Robinson lad reminds me a lot. Very, very old soul-like. Likes the rock and roll, wouldn't take the rap music, which is a big one for you. Even though you don't like that he's not a. But you can't. I mean, he's from Temiskaming.
He's from Temiskaming. You can't.
I don't even know if you're allowed to be a. There may be a bylaw in Temiskaming. You can't be a Leafs fan. So poor Justin might not have had a choice but to be one. But anyways, very mature. He's seriously now very mature goaltender. He's always been driven since I've known him since his Adam age. Has always been focused, always been driven, and he's just another one of those kids. Great story to see, but you knew he always brought something that he wanted to go past playing AAA, and he's living that dream now. And you never know what happens this big year for him this year. He didn't get drafted in the NHL draft, but you know what? We've another good year in the queue. We could be hearing another former Trapper putting on an NHL jersey, and hope that happens one day.
Well, and it's interesting because we've done quite a few of these podcasts now, and you know that I run my hockey life skills mentorship program, and I happen to believe that we can teach resiliency and that positive growth mindset. But it's really causing me to wonder, because a lot of these high-level goalies that we're having in here, I almost get the feeling that a lot of these guys are born with that. I unfortunately wasn't born with it, and I had to kind of overcome some challenges on the mental side of the game. But as we conduct these interviews, I'm really starting to get the feeling that a lot of these guys, they haven't really had to work too hard on that part of the game. And
you just think of what he had to go through in that minor midget year. First of all, not knowing, and it's a tough decision he had to make. He didn't know if the U16 Trapper team was gonna play that year, and it was just going to be a U18 team. So he had to make a choice. He made the choice like Nate McDonald did, chose to go down south, had a really good minor midget year. What does he find out? Sorry, Justin, you're not eligible for the OHL draft. And he had to deal with that. And of course, doesn't get drafted in the OHL, finds out he's eligible for the Q. Then he has the stress and has to almost reset, has to go, re-showcase himself to in some tournaments to get some more exposure. And, to the sharp eyes of the scouts with the Sea Dogs, they saw that he was a worthy draft pick. And obviously, St. John has a little bit of connection there to Nico LaForge, a player there from Temiskaming that was on the team that won the Memorial Cup a couple of years ago. So maybe that had a little bit to do with it, but it was definitely warranted. And you got to take advantage of any sort of connections you have. Player from your hometown, you got to take advantage of that, and that's what hockey's a lot about.
You might think that the guys who came up with this podcast, Goaltender Resiliency, they must be brilliant guys, because it seems like that really is a theme. And one other interesting point in the interview, Scotty, Father Scotty, and the support system. Just about every single athlete that we've had on here definitely has had that support system to get them to that next level.
For sure, and we're going to check now the technical stuff. You love the technical stuff. You put Justin on the spot a little bit on a couple of things, but mature answers as expected. But let's take a look at Dr. Rob grilling Justin and talking more goalie technical stuff.
Well, it's an absolute honor, Justin, to have you here in the Icebox. Again, really interesting to hear some of those insights and reflections you shared with Chris, the video archive master. He pulls things out of his back room that, really interesting. So welcome to the Icebox. Now, it seems like a long time ago since you were here, but I just wanted to let the viewers know that you still hold the Icebox record for the session we did in here with 46 catches in a row with the incredible Caleb Dawson shooting. You almost lost that record to Jackson Curran and Owen Haru, who had 45. But reflecting back on that time, learning how to catch a puck was something that 22 years ago, one of the scouts from the Barrie Colts told me when they were looking at a goaltender that, the ability to catch a puck is so important. So you still hold that record. So tell me right now, in terms of your development and getting to that next stage, what are you working on in terms of your game that you hope to kind of get you to that next stage?
So one thing I've noticed with the next level, I find there's way more traffic in front of the net. So really being able to just find the puck through traffic, always being square, helps you a lot. So I'm not the biggest goalie on earth, but just being out of the crease, being square helps a lot. And being around the post. So my post play could need improvement. I mean, you can always improve your game all the time. So just, yeah.
That's great. And before we came on air, I was asking about where you were at and what you were doing, and you told me that you took a bit of a mental reprieve and you're just getting back into your training now. Tell me how important that kind of break is for you, in your opinion.
So yeah, there's a few ways it helps me. I mean, first of all, mentally, I just find getting off the ice, just taking a nice little break, just takes your mind off things. Go do the things you like to do. So I'm a big golfer. I love to go play golf. Then just go in the gym summertime, just get your body ready for next year, just enjoy time living on the lake. So just being out in the boat, hanging out with my friends is just something fun to do. So.
Well, you mentioned something to me that I thought was really important and I thought was really insightful, is you said, Rob, I haven't been on the ice for a little bit, but it really helps maintain my motivation so that you're so hungry when you do get back onto the ice. And I thought that was pretty insightful.
Yeah.
Just maintaining the motivation, because, the people that are watching this podcast, the parents, the goalies, they understand the mental side of the game. And to play, in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League, that's the Stanley Cup for a lot of kids. It's a real honor to get to that level. And so to be able to play at that level, is quite an accomplishment, as you know.
Yeah.
So, yeah, congratulations on that.
Thank you very much.
So if you had a chance to spend 1 hour on the ice with any goalie, who would that be? Now, I have to preface this. It can't be Chris or it can't be myself, okay? But outside of the two of us, what goalie, if you had a chance to spend 1 hour on the ice, and tell me why?
Growing up, I've always admired and loved to watch Carey Price play, so I think that'd be my pick. I mean, just his calm demeanor, lots of goalies' idol. He was my idol growing up, just seeing how calm he is on the ice, just how he controls the play, and just amazed me. And I think learning a few things from him would be great and would benefit me a lot.
You know, it's interesting. We had Nate McDonald, who has had a fantastic career and is now transitioned into goalie consultant. And I asked him a similar question, and he also cited Carey Price. So it's amazing, you know, the impact that Carey Price has had on a lot of our young goalies up and coming. And everybody cites that calm demeanor and that ability, as you cited, to stay square, to stay calm, and not to overreact. So, you know, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay, now you said that you know, you're big time into golf, and golf and goaltending have a lot of similarities, right? Yeah. So if I was to ask you, what are the similarities that you think between playing at a high major junior level and golf? What are some parallels there between the two, in your opinion?
I think just staying focused. I mean, in golf especially, you're going to hit some bad shots. And in hockey, I mean, as a goalie, you're going to let in some bad goals. And just being able to let that go, not focus on the bad things and just worry about what's ahead is, I find, is the same in both sports. So just being able to put things away and just say, especially in hockey, you can always go back and do some video review like later. So just in the game, just try and focus on what's ahead, just focus on the next shot. And I think that's the biggest similarities.
And it's interesting because out of all the goalies we've had in here that have attained a high level like yourself, it seems to me like you know, many of the goalies that we have interviewed, you do have that, I'm going to call it innate, meaning that you're born with that kind of calmness, and you seem to have that, and that's to your credit. Now, again, coming back to the fact that you like golf, golfers tend to have swing thoughts. What thoughts do you or don't you have when you're sitting in that dressing room in the Quebec Major Junior Hockey League getting ready to go out? Can you give us some insights into what your thought process is in terms of your preparation?
So before games, I'm always just trying to get my body, my mind, and my eyes ready for the game. So I have my set routine. I'll always go out and juggle. I'll always do my set warm-up that I have before games. And at that time, then I'll be really thinking about my game, thinking about being square, thinking about different things that I'll need to do to perform well. Then when I'm getting dressed, I'll always have music. So I'm always listening to music, just trying to get calm. I find if you're too anxious or too on your nerves, you're just going to be thinking about too much. So being calm before a game, I find helps you a lot. Not to have too much on your mind, just worry about, like I said a while ago, just worry about the shot, and then if that goes in, then worry about the next shot. Just worry about what's next. So
interesting. So some really great tips there for our young goalies that are watching in terms of developing that positive growth mindset, which I'm going to admit wasn't one of the strong points of my game. Probably is what held me back in terms of my goaltending career. And I think why I'm so adamant about working with goalies and talking with goalies about that is because it's just such an important part to get to your level of play, right?
It is.
Okay, so we're going to play a little game just as we finish off this segment called One or the Other. And so basically you have to pick one or the other. So you have a chance to score a goal or 3 consecutive shutouts, one or the other.
Oh, that's tough.
Oh, it's not for the faint of heart, one or the other.
Yeah.
So let's, one or the other.
I mean, the goal is always a dream come true. I think over the course of the season, the 3 shutouts are going to benefit the team more. So I think I'm just going to go with the 3 shutouts.
Look at that. Chris, you know, we believe you're a character kid. You show your character on that one. That's one of my tougher questions, I got to be honest. All right. Should be a no-brainer. Leafs or Habs?
Habs.
Oh, you just took yourself down a notch in my eyes. Okay, that's all right. Pizza or poutine?
You know, from Quebec, poutine's always great. Pizza's great too, but Quebec kid, got to go with poutine.
Okay, fair enough. All right, you mentioned the music. What's playing in your earbuds before that big game? Rap or rock?
I'm a rock guy before games. I find it pumps you up a lot more than the rap style.
Oh, you are talking to a rock star, buddy, so you don't have to convince me. So, all right, let's dig a little deeper. Who? Give me some of the artists. Who are you looking? AC/DC? Like
a lot of AC/DC. Another thing, I'm not always so, like I was saying a while ago, listening to music and calming me down before games. Like I'm I'll often listen to country music actually before games too. So I find that it'll just calm me down and just take all the nerves away. And then when I'm getting ready to get back on the ice, then I'll amp it up to some rock and go back to that AC/DC, some Aerosmith, and some...
Well,
oh, yeah.
you know that I'm a drummer in a classic rock band, and I have to be honest, I'm not a country guy. So again, you lost a few points there. But having said that, you definitely are a rock star. One final one, though, we're going to dig deep into our retro goaltending collection here. And Chris has a couple of artifacts here. And so, one or the other, Justin, one or the other.
I love the Jofa helmet. Love the look of it. A great retro helmet. I think I'm going with the Jofa.
All right. Well, you're going to start the season this year. Chris is going to lend it to you, and that's what you're going to start the season with.
Sounds good.
Justin, it's been an absolute honor to feature you as one of our young guns. You've already attained more than most kids will ever dream of. Enjoy the experience, and we'll look forward to watching your career blossom. You're a great character kid, and we thank you for taking time to join us here on our podcast.
Well, thank you very much.
Wow. Again, Chris, just an absolutely exciting podcast. I mean, I'm learning so much just through conducting the interviews with you, and I'm really enjoying looking back in time with some of the archival footage and watching the reaction of these goalies to that footage.
What you think of some of his answers? And like we said, we talked earlier, very mature young man.
Well, you know, interestingly, I picked up on the fact that, you know, he loves golf. And one of the things that I really was impressed with Justin, and I think, you know, I really am an advocate of this too, you know, taking some time off from the pressure of playing hockey. And Justin just saying that, you know, he just really enjoys spending time with his family, the water. He loves to decompress. And he gave himself that 2-month kind of reprieve from the game. But the maturity in the response was that then helped him want it more when he got back on the ice. So, you know, a great insight there. And for young goalies that are looking at that, you know, taking a break, playing other sports, and just taking a break from hockey is not a bad thing. And it can help re-energize, reset, refocus so that, you know, you're not tired and you hit the ice with that energy and ambition. So that was something that I really picked up on.
Well, and you know what? It is a very mature thing to do. A lot of pressure, right? There's a lot of pressure. There's draft picks that are after Justin. He knows that he's got to work hard. But, you know, there is more value, and a lot of people are talking about it a lot more, about the value of rest. You know, I've talked to some other players like, you know, on the Voodoos, you know, Wraith Smith, who's, you know, hoping to be a star on the battalion this year. He took a month off after the Voodoo season. Now we went to the finals this year, so we had a little extra long, almost into May. But the value of rest now is something that I think is a theme you're seeing a lot more. And you know, I know some of the kids, and this isn't just goaltenders, but the kids that are going so hard all summer, going to summer tournament after summer tournament on the ice 6 days a week. By the time Christmas, January, February comes, guess what? They're burnt out. So you need to, there's a real balance, and that doesn't just mean goaltenders, that's for players. I believe there's a real balance, so you got to really, you know, be smart about your off time or off season time, and don't overdo it. And that goes for goalies, players, everywhere. That's just my...
And you know who's a big advocate of that, as you know, Randy Edmonds, you know, coaching over in Sweden. And when you talk to Randy over in Sweden and places like that, where he spends a lot of time, they are big proponents of kids playing soccer and getting tennis and other sports and taking kind of that mental reprieve. But, you know, even outside of that, in terms of sports conditioning and muscle development back in the 70s and 80s when I was training, you know, there wasn't the focus on hydration and recuperation and rest that there is now. And we understand the science behind it a lot more and the importance of that. So, yeah, I think that was something that was really interesting that Justin brought up.
Well, it's the off season for guys like Justin, but there's no breaks for the Goalie Resiliency. We'll have more stuff, some more young guns, and some more exciting guests. We'll see some goalies in old gear that are new goalies, and that should be pretty exciting to see in future podcasts. So thanks again. I'm Chris Dawson. This is the Doctor, Rob Graham, and of course our producer Mike Brown. And thanks again for watching. We'll see you again with another edition of Goalie Resiliency.